Good afternoon to all. Trainees, hope you will tolerate me for next 30 to 40 minutes. Though we are going to step over the time that has been allotted for this function and count how many slides I am going to present. Any guess? 0 to 10? 10 to 20? More than 20? Oh, thank you. So most of your logical reasoning seems to be very appropriate, because we forest officers tend to be as brief as possible, try to deliver whatever message we wish to deliver in the shortest possible time, as I have seen it in the display of that 3 mantras which the director of TNFA has narrated at the beginning of his talk. Though he talked less than 5 minutes, but the first 3 mantras which he told only attracted all the trainees here. Understand? Agree? Okay. So with that a brief intro, I thought I would be only not touching anything connected with your forestry per se, forestry or wildlife, because those are things and nitty-gritties which you have been learning in the academy or the CASPAS. Maybe for the first batch, you may be probably in the completion of the first year in CASPAS. And in case of TNFA, I think one batch is trying to get out of this institution with the full honor of having completed 18 months in training, isn't it? Because one of your batches is going to have their convocation tomorrow. So I thought it would be appropriate, in case I would be lending some lessons, probably from what we gathered as the officers from the boomers generation. You know the difference between the boomers generation and the country. What generation do you all belong? Millennial. So you seem to be slightly older. You are born before 95? No, those who are born after 95, they are known as Gen Z. Okay? So you are all people from Gen Z, and to learn something from a person who belongs to boomers generation is something a kind of a sea change. Because when we stepped into the forest service, probably about 4 decades back, what we have gained, what we have understood as forestry learning from our seniors, and later on during our field training and also in our performance during the field, is what I thought would be shared as a kind of an experience sharing with the trainees here. So when you construct a building, what are the things you lay emphasis on? Planning. Then I find some of them are leaving. The lunch is not yet ready. Okay, so what do you think is the most important thing for a building? And particularly a building which is probably a massive multi-story thing. Foundation. So planning and all things which are associated with any new activity. But particularly with reference to a building, a multi-story building, what any builder or any engineer will lay emphasis on will be on the foundation. And it is this foundation which you have gained in these August institutions, either at TNFA or at CASPAS. You agree with it? Yes, good. That's good, and it's a good encomium for your faculty members and the directors. Yeah, I agree. Okay, now having got some understanding about the profile of the trainees who are sitting here, I find that unlike our times, where most of the entrants were from a science background, we had only a few engineers, maybe a sporadic medical practitioner who joined the service in IFS. But today, take the case of forest range officers or the assistant conservators of forest, directorate road. We find it's a kind of a generous mix of science background degree holders, some of them postgraduates, then a lot number of technocrats or engineers from different fields, and also people from agriculture and forestry graduation. So with this kind of proper mix of what you call trainees in a group, do you think a particular pattern of training will gel with or will help them to build a strong foundation when they are planning to build a strong edifice on it? So that is where the emphasis of training come through. Now I learned that among the ACF trainees, we have got people from 4 different states. Am I right? Because that's what your director has shared with me. And in respect of the FORO trainees, I think you are from, the first batch is from 2 states, UP and West Bengal. Am I right? And the second batch consists of people from probably about 5 states. Okay. With this mix, region-wise and also educational background-wise, I find the task of the trainers here is very mammoth, very tough, because you have to train all the people from different educational backgrounds and regional backgrounds to such a level that some equity is provided and you are at the end of the training able to emerge as a professional who will be practicing forestry in a very particular way, in a very specific way. So with that introduction, I find that when you are sitting here in the training college, or when you pass out and go and land in your field training in your respective state, what you must look, I am trying to project my ideas from probably whatever we have gathered through our experience in form of only 10 slides. Can we call them as 10 commandments? Good. Next, where people come to the IGNFA and every evening they will get busy with their preparation for the civils. I think it might be happening here also. Do you agree? Do you agree? Some of you are aspiring for a better service. I don't find fault for the simple reason somebody told confidence.
Confidential, so they have not revealed it.
Oh, confidential. No, I think director informs that they have to obtain an OC. Okay, right. So, there's no harm, because I find nearly about 60% or 75% belonging to the 2 batches of SFS have spent some time to the extent of 3 years in other services before joining SFS training, which means you are trying to aspire to get into a better position in your life by a lot of additional efforts. Because when you are sitting in the task force or TNFA, you are supposed to conform to certain basic disciplinary requirements in the institution in terms of attendance, in terms of your presence in the classrooms, in terms of attending to the practical sessions, and also in terms of not missing your tours. So all these things force the trainees or make the trainees to be fully geared up for whatever that is happening within the institution. So in spite of that, how are you able to devote time for your so-called aspirants or aspiration for your entry into some other service? So therefore, you cannot go on hunting treasure endlessly. You keep it in your mind, you draw a cut-off date. Okay, because this is more relevant because some of you are already 30 plus. Now, as long as you get old and keep preparing for your next better, career assignment, you would find you will be entering into that service when you are in a very advanced age, which will have very far-reaching implications in your career. Suppose you are left out without any new entry into additional service, and you find that you are going to be within the forest department in the position of ACF for the time being, or in the position of FORO for the time being, and later on, as you grow in your career, you would find that there will be a lot of implications in the scheme of things. So therefore, other than those people who are preparing for other services, try to draw a cut-off date for yourself. It is entirely decision is yours, because you have to weigh the pros and cons associated with it, and then try to give give a cut-off date. Beyond which I would say that I will not prepare for any other exam, and I will devote my full-time attention to the forest service, for which I have been trained for the last 24 months or 18 months in case of FROs. So give undivided attention to your induction and field training, and follow the training schedule rigorously. Next. For the simple reason, you must all feel proud. When I was conservator in this region, Coimbatore circle, for about 5.5 years. I myself used to call as the bigger Jamindar, because I was owning at that time, or I was entrusted with managing about 3,000 square kilometer of forest, which means 3 lakh hectares of forest in the entire Coimbatore and entire Nilgiris districts. And I used to call my warden, who was wildlife warden, Pollachi, who was holding around 950 square kilometer or 95,000 of hectares, as a Kurunila Mannar, a Kuti Jamindar. You understand, no? The meaning of Jamindar. All of you understand, I believe, because this act was universally applicable throughout the British Indian Empire. Okay, came Indian independence, and the whole system of Jamindari was abolished by introduction of an act in the year 1948, Jamindari Abolition Act. So all those Kurunila Mannargal and Jamindars are gone, and some of the pristine forests, because these Jamindars used to retain this forest particularly for pursuing hunting. And any forest area, which in the historical time frame, if you observe, that the best forests ecologically are the forests which were maintained as the game reserves, maybe by the Britishers, and prior to them by the Mughals, and later on by the Jamindars, were those forests which are very rich biologically. So therefore, those forests came, and for instance in Tamil Nadu, we got added by about 10% to the extent of, say, about 1,100 square kilometers, 1,100 and odd square miles of forests were added to the Tamil Nadu Forest Department merely by one stroke of that government order. So which means the natural resource endowment has been given to you. You may be in whatever position. You are an ASF, you are a forest range officer. So try to feel proud of this trusteeship. Government has after all given you as one of the 10,000 forest range officers in the country. How many forest rangers are there in the country? Raja, you got West Bengal cadre. How many are there in West Bengal? Anybody from West Bengal? How many? Huh? Range officers. That means you have not still gained that ownership position. You must try to understand. So you may be one among the 400 odd rangers in your state. In Tamil Nadu, for instance, we have got 540 rangers, forest rangers. So you are one among the 540 range officers who have been entrusted with the task of owning and managing nearly about, say, in Tamil Nadu, 23,000 square kilometer of forest. So it's a very major assignment. Don't think that a forest position is so low. A forest position is very high and to be kept in high esteem. So also the posts of assistant conservators. We have got something like 65 posts in Tamil Nadu for the entire state of 23,000 square kilometer forest. So this is the kind of ownership we must feel, and try to be a proud, holder of that particular post. But unfortunately for us, unlike a private resource, unlike a private property which you can just protect with a fence or a compound wall or a lock and key, forest is an open resource. And again, unfortunately for us, much of the social anthropologists and the non-government organizations always claim that forest is a common property resource. I don't know how many of you agree with it. All of you agree that it's a common property resource? Yes, sir. I asked slightly in a higher tone. Somebody says no, sir. which means you are not sure. The answer is both yes and no. Okay? Because all these forests are incidentally notified under the respective states Forest Act, or when they adopt the Indian Forest Act 1927, maybe in case of some states, it is notified as reserve forest, where there are operations of certain restrictions, there are operations of certain prohibitions, there are operations of certain enforcements. So therefore, on that count, you cannot call them as open resource. Can you call them open resource where it is free for all? If you want to jolly well go inside, do whatever you like. Can you say that as a forest ranger officer or ACF? Will you be able to say? No. So therefore, the forest areas though are burdened with several rights and concessions for people who probably have been depending on this forest for age, for long. That is where they gain some kind of a vote, a favorable vote even from the policymakers and governments. They say yes, they have been traditionally living, and that's why we came across what is called the Forest Rights Act. 2006 Forest Rights Act. How many of you agree here among the trainees? Just raise your hand that it is done so good to the forest. How many of you agree that the provisions of the FRA and the implementation of it on ground has done a lot of bad things for the forest? See, I don't find any conviction from among the trainees. How do you say this? You are not rising. That means you are not understanding my question. I will repeat the question. How many of you are? You understood? समझिए? फिर हाथ तो उठा लो. Either you say yes or no. So how many agree that this FRA provisions and implementation has done something good for the forest?
It was not a part of syllabus so
Huh?
far. Not been included as syllabus.
Very good. Honest revelation. Yaar chunade? Please rise up. No, I will not say anything to your director. Good.
Director himself says.
Oh, ninge da channingala.
It is not part of syllabus.
Why?
It is under revisions.
Oh, I see. Okay. But then are you aware of FRA? You are all technocrats and you are all savvy, computer savvy people. You can Google and see all those things in no time. Do you all know that about, in the last, say, probably about 15 years of its implementation, nearly about 20 lakh Pata titles have been granted to the tribals, releasing for the usage of the so-called tribals and traditional forest dwellers, nearly about 1/5 of the forest lands which have been declared as a reserve forest on government records. 1/5 means what? How many lakh hectares? Can you someone guess? What is the extent of forest area in India? कितना million? 80 में 1/5 कितना है? So nearly about 16 million hectares of forests have been given either as a title deed or for some community rights enjoyment to the tribal population under the single stroke of FRA 2006. Now this has done, though sociologically, anthropologically, lot of good things to the forest dependent people, but has done more harm in case of forest management, because it has fragmented already divided forest lands, already fragmented forest lands into much more bits, which means in one single stroke you say the forest lands management is going to be facing a tougher time ahead. So this is the kind of import. So therefore the societal needs and demands will continue to give pressure to the management of these forests, and as the custodians or the trustees of these valuable common property resource, I don't say common property resource, you must be able to address the issues when you land in your forestry division after your training. Next. Be strong in fundamentals. I already told that we have a lot of technocrats, we have a lot of forestry graduates, and we have a lot of agriculture graduates, and probably the number of engineering graduates, the science graduates like with chemistry and biology background who are coming for this what you call institution have come down compared to our times. Now, I think probably 1/3 of the trainees are only from the science background and the rest of them are from engineering and other disciplines. So, with this background, what do you think will be the appropriate mix of training? Do you think the trainees may respond? One of you can just raise your hand and probably try to give your feedback as to whether the mix of training and curriculum which you are trying to understand and learn in the respective institution is adequate enough to prepare yourself when you land in the respective state in the field. Can anyone of you react? Yes, please. No. Okay. Why do you think it is no?
So there is not the state-specific modules here.
Oh,
So
you are from which state?
Rajasthan,
Rajasthan, no training institute available, no?
there
Or it is a prerogative of the DFE to allot you to the Tamil Nadu, what you call, CASPA situated in Coimbatore. Okay, but what you are doing in your field training, when you are going for your field trips, you had a West India tour?
yes,
क्या देखा वहाँ? Not yet undertaken, but you will be undertaking. So try to assimilate, because that is what we were also telling in IFC. Our time it was called Indian Forest College, not what you call IGNFA. So Indian Forest College, we used to always wonder. I know I have been allotted to Tamil Nadu. हम क्या करेंगे oak and chirpan के साथ? We used to always wonder. Every time they take it to Chakrata or Masuri and all Himalayan hills, which are what you call foreign to us. Definitely we enjoy the climate, the icy peaks and all those things, because it's all new thing to us. You cannot expect ice or you can snow in Tamil Nadu anytime in the history of human beings. So under that circumstances, we used to always grudge. About oak and chirpan, if you learn, what we are going to do in our state, that is where the so-called field trips, or you can say the field training by way of tours. I believe that your field training accounts for nearly about 5 months in case of FROs. And how many months you go for? Same, 24 months or 5 months is in field. Good. So try to utilize the time given to you in your field tours, and that is where probably you can understand more about your state. And you are not going to get landed in a post directly. After going from this place, again you are going to be given an option of undergoing 1 year field training in your state. Huh? Direct posting. You don't have anything like a range training or things like that.
that is in the field on the job training between the.
ठीक है. Chalo, I think then that means you have to be prepared more.
Yes, sir.
You have to be prepared more. Okay, understand. So you have to be a jack of all trade. When I say jack of all trade, you have to be knowing the tidbits of all the things. Probably maybe not have a very deep understanding of all the subjects which are concerned, but we must know what is what. Suppose we are teaching about the botany or taxonomical aspects of Tamil Nadu forest or taxonomical aspects of Rajasthan forest. You must be able to understand what are the chief species that are present, tree species that are present, what are the important medicinal plants that are present by name, and probably you must be able to also identify those plants on the ground. That is more important. I am coming to that because you may be doing in the course of your training, when you try to master certain thing, you may be missing out in certain other things. So with the expertise in your own basic study area, that is with reference to your background, you have to also improve upon the unknown fields. Suppose an engineering graduate, you may be good, you will perform especially well in forest engineering. Do you have a forest engineering subject? Yes, you will do very well. And you may be doing very well in mensuration. You have. And you may be doing very well in survey and settlement. You have. And you may be doing exceptionally well in GIS and remote sensing. Okay. But when it comes to botany, पीछे चला जाएगा. So I have an interesting anecdote which I have to narrate. Probationers, we have what is called a field training after we finish our IFS training in IFC or IGNFA, which is for a duration of 1 year, during which time you get attached to the circle for 3 months, sorry, the division for 3 months, circle 1 month, then other district offices 1 month, then about 6 months in the range training. So when we were in range training one time, one of our senior officers was the head of the department. Incidentally, who was also a faculty in SFRI. Those days it was SFRI. So you know the kind of taskmasters as well. So he was a very good taxonomist. So whenever he come to the field, all the junior fellows will try to go and hide behind the seniors. So apna DF ko piche jaakar khada hai. But he will not leave you because he knows that you are a professional and training in that place. So he will just call that fellow. Come on, yeah. You try to find out what is the species. No, this fellow, though he is from biology background, he may not know very well about the Tamil Nadu forest species because he is after all only seen oak and cheer all through the 2 years. So that kind of feeling will come and he will identify the species and say, sir, that's a species is Dalbergia sisu. Whereas he know a little bit that to the genus level he has identified correctly, but species he went wrong. So the GCF said, Dalbergia sisu in Tamil Nadu is not occurring natively. Where from you found this Dalbergia sisu? Then it was found that the tree species actually which he was asking was about Dalbergia latifolia, which is the commonly occurring timber species in Tamil Nadu forest, dry deciduous forest and moist deciduous forest component. Okay. Now by that, what the training was trying to reveal, or what the officer was able to capture about the training is, this fellow doesn't know about Dalbergia sisu, he also doesn't know about Dalbergia latifolia. Okay. If he has sat quietly and said, sorry sir, I don't know, at least he would have escaped with only one beating. Now by saying or counting it as a wrong species, he got 2 beatings. That is what you must avoid. When you get back to your state, your PCCF or CCF or additional PCC may ask you, identify the species. You can always say, sir, I will try to understand it because I have taken my training in the South India, where I am familiar with the species, where you can recount many number of species which are familiar in the southern land, that is Kerala or Tamil Nadu, and escape for the time being and say, sir, I will learn it within another 6 months or so. Understand? This is only one small tip which we experience as the trainees. Next. Forest department is one department where you have got ample opportunity to evolve into a multifaceted personality. You may say in IPS also there are about 15 wings or 20 wings where people can be posted. Yeah, I think you copied the wrong presentation. Yeah. I edited and gave me power. No problem. I have given a final slide in my pen drive, but he has copied that raw format. Doesn't matter, the material is same. Okay, law enforcement. So this is the prime job of any forest officer. You know how many acts you have learned during your training here? Can you not tell the numbers? This simple number. Chulunga, you just respond. Because I have to keep you active so that you are alive to the situation and your thinking doesn't go beyond the 4 walls. Okay? How many acts you have been taught? Forest law, FRO trainees. Chulunga, bola bhai. I have to revive my Hindi knowledge also. ठीक है? बोलो. No response. No, forest law mudikaliya.
One group, yes.
Your director says forest law has been done for one group. कितना? 6 forest acts only you have learned. क्यों? Or 6 laws which have some relevance to forestry and wildlife. ठीक है? Do you know which are the acts? यहाँ सुनो यार. They are cross-checking with one another. 6 ठीक है या 5 ठीक है, क्या बोलेंगे? Because none of you want to go wrong, isn't it? Okay. Now, do you know how many of these acts have undergone some change during the last year? Can anyone of you count? Anji? Wildlife Protection Act, good. What is it called? It is called simple Wildlife Amendment Act 2022. ठीक है? Any change is an amendment. In terms of legal parlance, it is called an amendment, and therefore it is called a Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022. So, as a law enforcer, you have to be alive with the situation. Similarly, Forest Conservation Act also had undergone change. 1980, we had far-reaching changes that have been brought through an amendment in the year 2022. So, therefore, you have to be, as a law enforcer, alive with the developments that is happening in the Act now and then. This I will narrate in my next slide. You are also a natural resource administrator. You have learned about sustainable management of forests. Have you been told? Hey, I want some response first. Yes or no? Yes, you have been told about sustainable management of forests. So, as a natural resource administrator, how many of you think today our focus is mostly on biodiversity conservation, so-called biodiversity conservation. You keep all your forests intact. Don't allow any of your forests to be harvested. Okay? You will retain for eternity, for posterity, etc., etc. How many of you, with your basic understanding about forestry, mensuration, forest utilization, and related subjects, agree to the point that forests can be kept in eternity without any utilization? Bolo.
Yes, sir, I believe it can be done.
It can be done. To what advantage?
To let it be flourish in your own way.
ठीक है, तो फिर कम्युनिटी का क्या देते हैं आप लोग फॉरेस्ट से, या गवर्नमेंट को क्या देते हैं? आफ्टर ऑल यू आर गोइंग टू गो टू राजस्थान, ठीक है, योर सेक्रेटरी और योर मिनिस्टर में आस्क कितना रेवेन्यू दे रहा है फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट से, फॉर द फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट?
रेवेन्यू तो इतना नहीं होता राजस्थान।
फिर भी, बट टेक द केस ऑफ हिमाचल, समबडी इज फ्रॉम हिमाचल, कहाँ से? वेस्ट बंगाल, उत्तराखंड, हाँ उत्तराखंड बहुत बड़ा स्टेट है। उत्तराखंड से योर चीफ मिनिस्टर और फॉरेस्ट मिनिस्टर में आस्क हाउ मच रेवेन्यू यू आर विलिंग टू गिव टू द स्टेट एक्चेकर बाय वे ऑफ फॉरेस्ट रेवेन्यू, व्हाट विल बी योर आंसर? ठीक है, दीज आर द थिंग्स which from your learning in the forest college should be able to defend. Suppose you are a strong votary for biodiversity conservation, you are a strong supporter for biodiversity protection, then sustainable yield harvester, then you must be able to substantiate your view with facts and figures. So, sustainable yield, that's why we always say, during our time we were always taught about how do you extract sustainable yield from the forest. Sustainable yield is one thing which you are able to obtain something from the forest in perpetuity, which will give you, continue to give that what you call yield, without diminishing its ability to produce for future yields. This is a simple definition of sustainable yield. But today, people are only talking about sustainable management. So the concept of yield has gone to the background because of the focus on biodiversity conservation. Then social anthropologists. You know how many of you are going to work with the people in close contact. Today, 1/4 of the state forest, that means 80 million hectare बोला था ना आपने country's forest. So 1/4 कितना है? Nearly 20 million hectare of forest in the country across the states are being managed through what we call as forest management committees. Forest management committees or joint forest management committees in case of forest areas and eco-development committees in case of protected areas. Okay, nearly about 85,000 of them are there in India. Now, how vibrant these committees are? So, they have been formed by the pressure of certain externally aided projects in mid-90s. Mid-90s means many of you would not have been born when the what you call West Bengal, when it took root in the West Bengal Arabari, they call it as Arabari experience. Then it later on spread like wildfire and caught up with the imagination of our forest managers and started issuing circular and then say that all our degraded forest should be managed with what is called the joint forest management system. And not to leave behind, in case of protected areas, we should go with the local tribals and local population in form of what is called the eco-development committees. Now, whether all these 85,000 eco-development committees or joint forest committees in the country managing nearly about 20 million hectare of forests, are they doing better things for the forest, for the improvement of the forest, for the condition of the forest, then imagine that if it has been maintained or managed under your conventional policing system. How many of you understand this question? Boliye? Do you think that with reference to your learning in the forest college, do you think that it has done good for the forest department? The operation of the JFMCs. You have not learned so far? ठीक है, याद रख लिए, ये mind में याद रख लिए, because this is what is going to be posed to you as you land in your state. Okay. Then conflict manager. Some of the states where wildlife or wild animals are rich in population and density, where you will have continuous interface with the wildlife. People-wildlife interface is longer and larger. You would find the conflict between human and wildlife will be enormous. Somebody is just reading some book interestingly there. What is the book? May I know? You were only reading, referring to some book. Okay. I was taking serious notes. Am I right? Good. So, conflict manager, because I find that nearly many of you have worked as forest range officers earlier, before joining the training. How many of you have really faced this human-wildlife conflict in your tenure as forest range officer? Anyone? No one? I think you have started with a very clean slate. Clean slate means it's better to teach and it is better for them to learn. Okay. Conflict of between human and wildlife, it's going to be a big management concern for all of you, particularly in states where the wildlife population is high and where forest dependent population is also high, or forest dependent communities are also high. So therefore, make a note of this conflict management situation which may be posed to you as a manager. Next. Scope for specialization. ठीक है? या बोर कर रहा है? अभी बोर कर रहा है? No sir ना? Then why do you worry यार? Afternoon तो class नहीं है ना आज? हाँ? I will request both the directors to give you first hour break यार. This is a win-win situation, which as a trainee, you must stimulate when you are in the academy or when you are in the training center. அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு class they will leave now and adjust it in the next working day or the next week. Okay, I will run fast. இல்லை எனக்கு I think my time is not over, 45 minutes. That you must recognize and appreciate. I will not exceed my 45 minutes. So, scope for specialization, there are immense number of areas specialty. I told you, no, you are all from different science background. So, any area which will be fitting into your jacket, you can choose to specialize. Why specialization is important? I would quote with example. I don't know, he has copied that old PowerPoint, which is a raw version. So all the suspense is gone for the class. Okay, develop domain knowledge and area specific expertise. Do you all agree? If you all agree, I will not expand further and I will go to the next slide. Good. Technocrats. Suppose you are an engineering graduate with a civil engineering background or any background. Today, any engineering graduate fits into a software developer. Agree, no? With some kind of a, what you call additional gathering, you become a software developer. So that's the kind of thing which you have opportunities for engineering structures, road alignment, GIS, remote sensing applications. You know that we have got people even at the level of range officers. Forest range officer trainees, please know that at your level there may not be any scope for specialization. I will tend to disagree. The lady range officers, you must particularly note, they are busy talking among each other. So, lady range officers, why I am telling? Because you may be very good in the field, but at some point of time, if you develop an opportunity to specialize in certain field, which may not require too much of direct protection related field duties, don't you consider as a better opportunity? Still you will be going to the forest, still you will be going to the field, which means if you develop your interest in GIS, MIS or remote sensing, you will be still sitting in your GIS lab, but then go to the forest also to study the field conditions. Okay, we have so many examples in the forest department. Is Jayaprakasam taking class for you, FRO trainees? He is originally belonging to Tamil Nadu Forest Range Officer Service, later on got promoted and retired as DCF, I believe. Okay, ACF, okay. But still, whom they are relying on? They are not relying on the CCF GIS for taking class for your FRO trainees and ACF trainees. They are relying on the range officer. So the range officer, if he felt, I'm so ranger, kya karenge, department mein. But he didn't do that. He has developed his skill in GIS, worked continuously for several years, and developed skill and expertise in that field. As a result of which, on post-retirement, he says, Sir, aajkal to time hi nahi hai. That means he is so busy with so many activities, either going to what you call TNFA or taking up some consultancy projects, which are requiring the what you call knowledge and skill of a GIS application.
He takes class for Odisha also.
Yes. So that's the kind of lesson you must learn. Try to develop at some point of time in your career some kind of a specialization in your service. We have another case of a very interesting extension specialist in the forest department in Tamil Nadu, Veera Kumar, who happened to completely spend his career in extension wing of the forest department. You know, he is an awardee of the Indira Priyadarshini Vikas Award. What is that award? Vrikshmitra Award. He is a recipient of the Indira Priyadarshini Vrikshmitra Award, which is a national award. So specialization provides that kind of an opportunity. We had one ranger who was called Hayat. He spent the entire of his career in research, forest research. He is being remembered. There are, I told you, 500 and odd rangers in the forest department. So in the last 20 years, so many rangers would have retired. But still, we remember Jayaprakash, we remember Veera Kumar, and we remember Hayat. Though they were rangers, and later on, who became ACFs and retired. So therefore, you have to develop some kind of interest in developing skills. Computer graduates. We have one forest officer in the rank of DCF, a director of IFS, who is Mrs. Sudha. She is very good in computer. She developed software, or I can say app called Treepedia. Earlier in our days, we used to what is called a manual of trees, Tamil Nadu trees. Immediately we would go on river. See, Acacia and Elatica, 1000 seeds per kg. How to pre-treat the seeds. All those things will be in hard copy in the form of a booklet. Today, if you go to this Treepedia app, you will find every damn thing in the app itself. Because it's a evolving time with more of application of technology and science. So therefore, specializing in any one field will not deter the scope of your performance in the service. It will be good, it will be keeping you in good stead in your service. Next. No substitute to hard work. Are they following in your college nowadays, Director sir?
Sir.
This Mensana Incorporasana.
Yes, sir.
The meaning is healthy mind in a healthy body. See, any forest officer who comes, one service which you have to be proud of. I don't know, you have to be agile and keep you physically fit. Your director TNFA told in the morning, physical, mental and spiritual strength of the officers will keep you throughout your career in your best form, best format. You would see that many of the forest officers survive for a long time after retirement. Why? It is because of that 60 years, or you can say somebody who has joined service around 25 years and has spent nearly about 35 years in the natural settings. And natural settings help you to get all the best things of the life. So therefore, you have to keep yourself physically and mentally active, and both in field and office. There is certain impression that is gained nowadays is because of the intrusion of the science and technology in the hands of the forest officers like any other field. Many of them are now sitting in their offices doing WhatsApp, and WhatsApp management is the forest management. WhatsApp management is equivalent to forest management. This will not take you long. So therefore, keep focus on the emphasis on the field work or a hard work which can only take you forward. Next. Spend as much time as possible in the field. You would say, I am a 24-hour forester. You agree? Do you agree or not? Yes, sir. Any government servant for that matter is a 24-hour government servant. He can be called anytime to his office by his superiors or his political bosses. Okay, so having recognized that you are supposed to be a 24/7 officer in the field, you try to spend, because you are all cutting edge foresters. The FRO particularly is in the cutting edge level of the what we call forest department, and the ACFs are in the level of initial mentoring of the FROs. ACF's role, don't undermine. You are caught in between the DFO and the FRO. Most of you will think that way only, but now many of the things, if the FRO has been properly mentored by the ACF, the FRO will be reluctant to go to the DFO directly. He will always approach his ACF only for any guidance, or in case of some trouble, how to get out of it, sir. So that kind of what you call mentoring the ACFs have to do on their FROs. So therefore, if you are also a good field man, you will be able to do that mentoring job very well. Cultivate a sound informant system. This is very important by forestry, particularly for forestry, because we are protecting a natural resource including a lot of wildlife. Therefore, wherever you work, you have to have a sound informant system. This is very important. I always say that forest officers are only those who are being paid by the government for being close to nature. Agree? Whereas in other services, take the case of revenue department or police or any other department, if they have to come to the forest resource for a stay overnight, they have to ask the FRO or the ACF or the DFO, sir, Saturday we want to come to the forest resource, can you make it available? Then only you will be able to enter the forest and enjoy the beauty of the nature. Whereas 24/7, you have been enabled with that opportunity. So why do you miss it? So have a recognition that you are being paid by the government for being close to nature. Informant system and your hard field activity and being close to the field is very important, because those days when science and technology has not developed, we used to have always a problem with the wildlife deaths. Because it's relevant, I would say, whenever an elephant mortality is noticed in the forest, the first thing the forest guard will tell the forest range officer, sir, ஒரு யானை, I am telling in Tamil, I will translate. ஒரு யானை விழுந்துருச்சு சார் அப்படின்னா, என்னடா யானை அப்படின்னா, இல்லை பொட்டை சார், which means, sir, one elephant has been found dead in the forest, slightly deep. He will given that introduction in the beginning itself, slightly deep, so that the ACF or range officer will be reluctant to go and see it for himself. Okay, what is the sex of that animal? See, if he says it's a male, the next question will be, what is the tusk? What happened to the tusk? Is it a poaching, a natural death, whether tusk is intact or it has been removed? All those things he has to answer. He will simply say, sir, it's a female elephant. So female Asian elephants, all of you would recognize that they don't have tusks. So naturally, all the problems get solved at that stage for the forest guard. But the range officer or the ACF fails to recognize the truth. It could be a poaching incident involving a male elephant where the tusk has been removed. And what will be the kind of implications for the future? Suppose if the ranger or ACF fails to recognize that a poaching gang is there in your area, there may be more poaching incidents. So therefore, try to be close to the field and also have an informant system. Okay? So that is very important for you to carry with your service in good state. Next, the last 2 slides. कितना हो गया अभी? Count. Somebody might have counted. हाँ, 8 हो गया ना? अभी 2 बाकी है. बस. Believe in teamwork. This, of course, in any management institution, this is the first thing they have to be focused on. Teamwork. You are not a lone fighter in the field. So you have got, suppose you are a forest range officer, you may have a team of foresters, forest guards, and forest watchers, and probably a plethora of watchers who are in temporary hands. Okay? So therefore, suppose you assume that you have got 20 staff working under you in a FRO. And similarly, ACF sees that he has got 5 range officers and 5 into 20, 100 people working under him. Now assume that all these people's ideas just percolate into you. What will be the kind of implication? 5 into 20 into, suppose he has spent 10 years in the field already. कितना हो गया? साहब arithmetic क्यों? 1000. So instead of your 10-year own experience, you are having 1000 years of experience, which is assimilated, imbibed, but you have to be only cautious that which one to take and which one to leave. That kind of what you call thing only will take you to the further. This cumulative wisdom will help in many occasions. So therefore, suppose some of your temporary hand, some of your temporary watcher comes and says certain thing, you may find it a very stupid idea. But don't overlook that as a stupid idea. Test it, you will find that it has worked miraculously well in the field. I can take one small example with 1 minute narration, where one panther fell into a well, open well in Kotagiri. Kotagiri, many of you would have visited, no? In Nilgiris. Field trip, South India tour, you are not gone? Nilgiris tour? Weekend போறாங்கல்ல? They are free இல்ல? அப்படின்னா people would have seen Kotagiri. Okay, Kotagiri in open well near a tea estate, one panther has fallen into a well. Okay. Suppose you are the forest ranger or ACF. आप क्या करेगा? How to rescue the animal? Lower a cage. Okay, because you have seen it sometime recently in Maharashtra. Okay. Then any other idea? No other idea? One bright fellow, an anti-poaching watcher in the gang, told, sir, these panthers are good climbers of trees. So why don't we attempt putting a bamboo ladder or even a bamboo post? With the help of this bamboo post or bamboo ladder, the panther will come out so soon. It happened. It worked well. After putting this bamboo ladder, because the well was slightly deep, so they tied 2 or 3 bamboo ladder, poles, and then put it in a slanting position across the well. After tying a big boulder to the bottom of the bamboo post, otherwise it will just start floating. Okay? Having done that, you found that this panther, and after that they removed all the crowd there, and within 5 minutes the panther came out. In another incident, almost at the same time, within the same state, other group of officers followed what you were telling. They brought the whole paraphernalia of the forest department, forest veterinary officer, a forest range officer who is familiar with the tranquilization, all those things they brought. They sent one forest range officer down in a cage. He tranquilized the panther, which was in a 70 feet deep well, and of course the panther was darted after 4 attempts, and they lifted the panther after in a sedated condition in the same cage up and pulled up, and then they brought the animal back, gave back that revival dose, and then let it into the forest. Now, which one of you would appreciate as a better option? First option, okay. Easy to what you call execute solution. So that's the kind of ideas that will emanate if you are keeping your eyes and ears open to ideas. This will have multiplier effect, as I have already narrated through my arithmetic, and it will solve. You compare these two examples, you find that the first example saved a lot of time and effort from the people. So many of the unresolved issues can be solved through such adaptation. Next. Go by rule book, this I don't have to say, but then you have to be very, very cautious. I told no, the rule books get amended then and there. Many times you find new amendments coming through, and many of us are not posted with the latest information about the amendments or changes that had happened in the rules. So you have to be always in the habit of reading whenever any amendment is forwarded from your head office. If you are working in a division, your DFO may forward in that routine cyclo-style format or some such thing. Some of the amendments that has come to your office. What is the tendency of the range officer or the ACF is just to send it to the clerk in the office or office assistant without even spending a few minutes on the amendments. But then, if you have done that, doesn't matter. At least whenever there is an offence that is relating to that issue is happening, try to refer to the amendments that had happened in that particular area. Okay, so habit of referring is going to help you in many ways. Consult your seniors, colleagues and subordinates, and don't get it carried away with what your subordinates all times. I told the example of the male and female elephant death. Okay? You keep that in mind whenever you are trying to get some ideas or opinions from your subordinates. Okay. This is one small example which I narrate the thing which had happened when I was a DFO. 1990 January, New Year Day. Vellore division, which was rich in sandal. Of course, the sandal is not existent anymore. The sandal trees, they had what was called a forestal CID. And the forestal CID constables, they were also supposed to perambulate the areas, of course outside forest, and look for movement of any smuggled sandalwood timber. So in one such occasion, when the forest ranger officer was taking a night raid, he was checking the roads. He found one ambassador car coming through that road, and it was stopped, and he found that a constable of the forestal CID sitting in the front seat. And the back seat they used to tamper with and make it in such a way that they can load more of sandalwood. They will remove the seat and all and load the sandalwood logs inside. He found that full sandalwood logs were loaded, and this forestal CID constable was sitting, and the driver was another forestal CID constable. Now the range officer is on the fix. He says, sir, we caught this wood when being smuggled. But then where are the accused? He had no answer. When the FRO called us, he called me. His subordinates advised him, sir, I think let us not take the risk because he is after all a police officer, policeman. Why do we implicate him in a forest case? We will let him go. We will only seize wood. But then he sense prevailed on the ranger, and he asked the DFO, and also I consulted the conservator, and he said, no, let him be a constable or anybody else. Book him under like a normal accused. Okay, we did it. Why I am trying to emphasize this point is, whenever you are getting some kind of information or feedback from your subordinates, try to probably comprehend yourself in a better manner and judge for yourself, maybe consulting your seniors and other colleagues. Next. This is summing up. Boss is always a boss. How many of you agree? I think we are not finding them, many of them raising their hand. Yes. Here is a wisdom that is coming from a DCF who retired from the forest department, who entered the forest department as a range officer and retired as with the IFS conferment as a deputy conservator of forest. Okay. He says that a person who recognizes this fact will be a successful forest officer. A boss is always a boss. Hierarchical department with a strong line of command, all of us recognize, and there is a lot of emphasis on discipline. Now, I don't know how many of your states have this system of annual assessment reports. I think it may be there in all the states, where the ranger and the ACF or whatever cadre, he is being reviewed every year for his performance during that particular financial year. Okay, these annual assessment reports will have huge implications on you. There are two things which you have to be very, very cautious in your service, is somehow try to get an excellent or an outstanding assessment from your boss. Doesn't mean that you have to be a chamchagiri और मक्खन मारो यार कुछ तो ग्रेडिंग ले लेंगे, ऐसा नहीं है. Through your hard work, shared discipline and probably your deliverance of the service requirements, if you are able to get a good grading in your annual assessment report and avoid any punishment during your service. Why I am saying is, most of you have entered the service 30 plus, around 30, okay, and your batches are large. Some batches have got Rajasthan, कितना आदमी है? 30 ACFs. नहीं अभी कितना है आपका बैच में? 30. Now 30 में who will be the topper and who will be the last bencher? ठीक है? Now I am only telling an assumption. If suppose A is the topper and Z is the last man, you know the kind of promotion prospects for the ACFs. They are limited. Likewise, in the FROs also, it is limited. And when the batch is so large, like 25-30 people in a batch, between the first man and the last man in the batch itself is going to be a huge cost in terms of your promotion prospects and further progress in your career. Therefore, these are the things, two things you have to be very cautious. One is try to be always getting the best ranking in your assessment reports, annual assessment reports, and avoid punishments. That will take you in your career progression in a better manner than otherwise. Next. Okay, thanks. I think I finished in 45 minutes. If I have exceeded, it's not my fault, sir. Thank you. Any questions? Open to questions or no? No, la? Oh, that's a great relief. Thank you.